flip the coin that way in my age.
Did you leave your motor on that time all the way back with that floppy transom?
Oh, I had a transom saver on. It was, you know, transom saver. It wasn't wiggling.
You haven't gotten close with it.
No.
Yes. And transit saver, same.
Yeah. But no, so it's solid now. And it's the way it should have been. What they did, they actually showed the pictures, is they took the old wood out. You cut the cap at both ends, because, you know, the cap that goes along the top. So they cut it at both ends, remove that, pull the motor off on a hoist, leave everything connected up, simply raise it on a crane out of the way. Pull the old wood out, use that as a template to make to cut the new wood. They bond the new wood together in epoxy, and then fiberglass coat everything, and then it goes back in. So it's really solid and it should last.
That's good.
Nice boat.
I really liked it. It has quirks. But
It's the same as Steve's, isn't it? Only it's
Low.
maybe a year.
Yeah,
newer.
it's a lower profile boat.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Bill.
Bill, how are you?
I heard you were speaking tonight, so
Well, kind of.
Al invited me to come.
please do.
Bill, this is, Tripp. Noah
Hi,
Wagner.
Skip.
I'm Bill.
Okay.
Bill Wagner.
I'm David Hansen.
David Hansen.
Bill Wagner.
You know Lee Rasmussen?
Lee
This is Randy Kaufman.
Hi, Randy.
Hello.
You're doing a good Bill Wagner.
I called him and said it should just be as easy as logging in.
Oh, okay. Have a
Hey,
seat wherever you like, Bill.
is Jordan Key working tonight?
Jordan is not. He was off at 5. Yep.
Oh, hey, I assume that Cammy Packard is gone for the night?
She is.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I get a post again?
I've had Jordan Key on my phone a couple times up there.
Okay, so I think you have some work.
Looks like it's gonna work. It's gonna take a minute, I
That's
think.
the gorge.
Almost there. Sweet.
That's about
It
it.
came in and I went to plug this in and then it turned off and said it was gonna do an update and then we couldn't log in.
So you good there?
I think we're good here.
What's
I
that?
like Al when we get a chance to get down there.
Yeah. I haven't done a lot of bass fishing. I have.
You been down to Powell lately?
Not lately.
Have a lot of
When was
learning.
the last time we were at Powell?
June, first week of June.
There they are. Come in.
Welcome. Come in.
Come on in and sit up. You probably better sit up in
Yeah,
front.
we'll have some pictures. You'll be
You
able
know,
to see better towards the front.
We've got a mask for him. He won't spit on it.
These your pictures?
They're Paul's pictures, right? Those are your
Yeah,
pictures, right?
these are just some pictures my son downloaded for me.
Yeah, okay, yeah, those are the right pictures.
Those are the right ones.
How are you, Lee Rasmussen?
Hi, Lee.
I'm Brandon Cameron.
Should we give her?
Oh, the dues go over here, and right now it's 15,
Okay.
prorated.
So, our guest speaker is?
Paul Tripp.
Paul Tripp.
Oh, Randy, the only other items are, again, the 14th, this coming Saturday is Starvation. I know that Danny Washburn's going to go up. He's going to stand up to Starvation. And it'd be nice to know how many people are going to go, and I'll send out something, an email again to everybody saying.
Yeah, do we have, again, Ben's not.
Anybody want?
Ben's not
Tell me your name again.
okay. Active in the club at the moment. Braden, it's tournament director.
There is no tournament. He's still kind of active in the club as a participant. So I haven't heard from Ben if he's gonna go. I'll probably reach out to him to see if he's going. Skip and I are gonna go up and fish Friday night and sleep in the parking lot. And then fish again on Saturday and come home midday or late afternoon.
And speaking
It
of.
has, I haven't done that for a couple of years, but last time I did that, they came down and nailed Earl and I in the parking lot. We were sleeping in the truck. There with the boat, we'd fished until about midnight. And they tried to get us to pay a camping fee.
Well, was it like a camper though?
It was just a shell on the truck.
Well, I haven't had that happen,
Sounds
I've
good.
done it many times, and I haven't had anybody come around and raise an issue.
Well, we had done it. a
Hey,
lot.
how's it going, man?
Earl and I
Get in.
used to do that all the time.
They seem to get relaxed out, so they.
I did, I
even
did.
yelled from front
Yeah.
gate, said, well, if you're camping
Yeah, I
around,
think
just
from both of
sit
them.
in the parking
Yeah.
lot, okay, I think you'll be fine, nobody comes by.
So this is your wife?
Yeah, I haven't had anybody check on us, we've done that several years.
How are ya? Nice to meet you.
And if they do, you know,
They're fishing, he's loving it.
Yeah, you're right, we're about to have him in the club.
Yeah.
I'm Paul Tripp.
Paul, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Badger.
Yeah. I worked with a guy named Badger. Is that your name or nickname?
It's my last name.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, yeah.
I just go by Badger ever since football. I don't know, that's how I went.
Yeah.
Good football. Yeah, good football.
well, are we about ready to kick off? We're a little overtime, but that's okay, it's
Yeah.
just us.
Yeah, it's just us.
Well, this is a better crowd than last time.
This is a great crowd, yeah.
Awesome.
If you wanna start, I'll run downstairs and just see if Gary Brown or somebody showed up that I invited over.
Oh, well, yeah, if you wanna wait, you know, we'll
Let me
wait
just
for
run
it.
down and just if he's wandering around.
Go ahead, we'll wait just a couple of minutes. We'll talk about you while you're gone.
Oh, go ahead, my ears are burning.
Yeah. So you guys were fishing, anybody else fishing over there this weekend? So you don't know about them?
I don't know if anybody else is going, no.
Yeah, I felt bad about the last time when Ben went ahead because we had assumed that nobody else was going, but.
He didn't come to the meeting or give us any indication. But,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was fun though. I mean, he gave us some good information. What Ben had done, we'll just cover this now while we're waiting, if that's okay. So Ben went on that Friday night because we canceled because the weather forecast, like on Wednesday, the weather forecast for Friday looked horrible. Well, between Wednesday and Friday, the weather forecasts improved, so Ben just, contacted me on Friday afternoon and said, hey, I'm on my way, how many people will I see? And I said, none, because we're going Saturday. So he went on Friday, and he kept moving. He likes us to keep moving really slowly. So he fished all the major points up into Salratus. He fished the points at Rabbit Gulch. And then he went down, he said some of the quickest fishing he found was under the bridge in about 11 feet of water right next to the pylons. But again, all of the walleye they were catching were really little, 8 to 10 inches for the most part, which is what we found. So he gave me that information, so we knew a little bit before we went down on Saturday what his experience had been the night before. And our weather was fine. We tried some bottom bouncing up in Salratus off of that there's a little point on the far northeast corner that comes down into the water, and I think they call it Snickers. I think that's the nickname of it. And off that little point, every time I go over it, we pick up walleye. And there were a couple of boats that had parked closer up in on the point, and they were just throwing jigs at that point during the day, before you guys got there. Yeah, we were catching little walleye there. But then at night, we went down I anchored off of Rabbit Point, or off the point of Rabbit Gulch, rather.
He's not gonna make it, he's, got a grandson living on a mission field.
Oh, okay. And Badger went up into Rabbit Gulch where there was rocks on the north shore of Rabbit Gulch, and you were off of there, right?
Yeah, just right in a little cove where the biggest rocks are.
Yeah.
You know where that is, maybe?
Yeah. And we fished there before and done really well at night, but just about the point we thought, well, maybe we ought to go over and find Badger. It was like we had a three for everybody, all of us pull up the fish at the same time. It's like, no, we're gonna stay here now.
Were you using the jig and wrap thing that you gave us, or what were you using?
No, I tried that for a little while. I never did. That works pretty good if you've got a sandy bottom.
Oh, over by us, yeah. I mean, an instant snag because of all the rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we just did a glow head jig
Yeah.
with the worm. Before it even hit the bottom, we were
Yeah.
on fish. Once we got the green light down, so.
Yeah, the same experience where we were. Yeah. How deep were you anchored up?
I think it was only like 25 feet. We just kind of were anchored right there.
Right, right.
I apologize for being a little late. We COVID thing about right
Okay,
outside.
so do we want to start recording?
Yeah, I already started. Just
Oh,
so that report's on there.
Oh. I should have been.
It's usually better when it's
Okay, Randy?
Well, welcome to the August Rocky Mountain Angler Meeting. Got an in-house crowd of about 8-ish here, so welcome to those who are here, and welcome to everybody out there in YouTube land. So, I want to say, well, they've been members.
They're here for
They've
several
been here
times.
before.
We've been,
So-
we knew me, because I wasn't here.
Right. So yeah, so welcome one and all. And we have a guest speaker today, Mr. Tripp.
Yep.
So come on up and let's get your presentation started. I'm interested in seeing it.
Okay, we'll try. I'm not a professional presentation. Somehow I got nominated to do this. I think maybe Bill.
Hey, Bill, you're welcome too.
I think Bill had something to do with it.
You catch enough fish, we'll want to know about it. So that's probably what happened.
Well, anyway, I retired from the power company about 5 years ago. And when I retired, one of my buddies I work with has a place up in Manila. And he said, let me back up. I was gonna build a cabin up by Smith Morehouse at the time. And I bought a little 17-foot Triumph fishing boat, and I was gonna fish up there at Smith Morehouse and have a little cabin up there. And my friend Brett says, you don't want to fish up there and catch them little tiny slimers. He says, you need to come up here and fish with me at Flaming Gorge. So I started fishing with him up there, and one trip up there, and I was hooked. That's kokanee fishing. I love kokanee fish. It's fun. And so I proceeded to start fishing with him, and the nice thing about that is going from a beginner, a learner, to fishing with somebody that lives up there that fishes almost every day. It took me from beginner stage to actually knowing how to catch them in a short period of time. So, in no way am I a professional or anything like that. I don't pretend to be, but I do have pretty good luck catching kokanee. And so, one thing that I really like about fishing for kokanee is they're not like rainbows that feed on flies and bugs, and they don't feed on other fish. So your bait is a different type of fishing. You have to tick them off. You have to make them mad. That's how you catch them. And a lot of people think that maybe it's the bait they're using or something, but it's not. You have to find a way to make them mad to catch them. And what they do feed on is plankton, and you can always find kokanee in plankton blooms. So when you're using your fish finder and trying to find kokanee, a lot of times, people always say, well, it's the red, the yellow in the screen because the kokanee have a bladder, and that's how you can tell the kokanee from the other fish. Well, that's kind of true, but I've had that lie to me before. And so what I've learned is on your screen is if you take your sensitivity and turn your sensitivity way up to where you get a lot of the black lines in your screen, you can actually see the red and yellow fish in the blooms, because the blooms will get really almost black on your screen. You'll actually see like a round ball of black, and you'll see little red fish inside those blooms. That's when you know, okay, these are kokanee down there. This is what I'm going to pull through when you're trolling. I like to troll around 1.5, 1.6, and I usually find the fish and get the depth, and then I'll go through right where the fish are. I don't drag my line clear out around and just keep dragging it everywhere where there's no fish, because you're just wasting your time. So I look for the fish in the blooms, is what I do. And what I do, scent and flash is usually what attracts them. And so what I do for my bait for scent is I use shoe peg corn, and I mix it with this bark here, right here. I order this on Amazon. I mix this into the corn. I put a little bit of this kokanee feast right here in with it. And I put a little bit of tuna fish oil in it. And then I also use the sockeye slayer. I forgot to bring that with me tonight, but it's in a little white bottle. And a lot of people like to put the sockeye slayer, the gel on their lures and stuff. It just makes a big mess in my boat. So I just put it on the bait itself, just a little squirt on the bait, and it works good. And if I've used sunscreen on my hands or something, any type of scent, they'll pick up on that scent, and they'll know that, you know, this is something wrong here. So what I'll usually do is, if you sunscreen up, is I'll put some of that sockeye slayer on my fingers and get that smell right down into my fingers, so when I put my bait on, I don't get any of that scent from the lotion into the bait. Now lures, what I've had the best luck with is the smaller lures in the spring, early spring, and usually by the end of August I've moved up to the larger lures. And there's a different, you know, I'm just going to show you some of the different lures that I use and do. You know, pink is always usually the best color, but not always. I've noticed that every day is a new day when you're fishing for kokanee. So like this is one of my popular ones right here that I like to use. It's a Simon lure, and I have a really long leader on this because this here is what they call a cut plug. It's a Brad's cut plug. It's got a little elastic band on the bottom that you can peel off. This thing opens up, and it's got a sponge pad inside, and I put my sockeye slayer, my scent, inside that. And I've had really good luck this year with this. Dale will vouch for that. He caught a few with it. I like to keep all my loads in these little blade bags. It just keeps them all separated so I don't got a big mess. I can just hold this up and show you some of the different ones that I use. So I keep all my pinks together in one bag and different colors. These are a mag tackle lure. I have really good luck with these. You can buy them from Mag Tackle online. And some of these you've probably seen before, but these are all the pink ones that I use here. Got one gold one in there. Now, this is what I'm talking about, the bigger Dodgers. You know, if I went up there tomorrow, I would be using one this size or even bigger. And I'll show you those in a minute. Like this size right here is a good size to use too. And that you know, most all of these here that I brought tonight are all my favorite Dodgers that I use. I got all kinds of them. You guys can come up. I'll just open these bags and you can look through them later. This Dodger in particular, they don't make it anymore, but there are some stores that are still selling it. This is, I've got a tangled mess here. I'll show you both of them, but this one right here, this time of year, is my favorite one. That does a great big sweeping motion, and it really attracts fish really good.
Yes, indeed.
Now,
Is that what they call a double D?
I think so, yeah.
So those are connected, there's two together?
No, they're tangled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're both tangled right now.
All right.
So, but yeah, but this is the one. This one I catch a lot of mags, pups with this one. Never caught a kokanee with this one ever. This one, and Dale will vouch for it.
Oh, yeah.
He's got several of them with this one up here.
I
So,
wondered why you had to have such a big Dodger, but
Yeah.
it works.
yeah.
It makes them fish so mad they want to tackle the boat.
These Dodgers right here, you guys have probably seen these before. These work really well this time of year when you get into August. The bigger Dodgers seem to work better later in the fall.
Paul, do you vary the length of the leader
I do, yeah.
depending on the season?
And depending on what I'm using, the cut plug I'll go longer, and the squid I'll go, you know, the shorter the length, the more action you get. And that's another thing too, is early in the season, when the water's, when the water's colder and the fish are up in the warmer water, they're like maybe 30 feet deep at Flaming Gorge, which is shallow for Flaming Gorge. I'll run my line out 100 feet behind my boat before I drop it. And what I've noticed is when the fish are shallow, when I go through with my boat, they scatter. They go out, and then they wait a while, and then they come back. So I'll put my bait way out. Now in the fall, when you see them on your screen and they're all stacked up, lots of them, big schools of them stacked up, I'll rig really short, like maybe 15 feet from the ball. And then when I enter into the place where they're stacked up, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just turn my boat real sharp on top of them. So I'll raise one dodger up and lower the other one. And it's always the one that lowers. I lower that one right down into them. It's always the one that lowers that I'll catch them on. And it works just about every time. You know, sometimes just dragging them straight through the fish, they just look at it and go, oh, there's, you know, it doesn't make them mad, they don't act. But if you start dropping them and raising them, they'll attack it. And, you know, and that's what's so interesting about these fish is it's not so much, like I said, the bait. It's, you got to find a way to make them mad. And that's what I found out that works the best for me. So I'll just show you guys a few pictures of some of the fish we've caught. This is my son here. And these fish are close to 5 pounds. And that particular day, anything under 3 pounds, we'd throw them back. You can see this is the August time of the year. They're starting to turn a little bit pink. And they get much more pink than that. You just put them back. They're no good to eat. They get, the meat gets real mushy.
Is that your boy?
That's Brandon. Yeah,
And you
that's,
didn't drown him?
you know.
With that New York shirt on?
Yeah, I know. I'm a Boston guy and he's New York. Can you believe that? This is
I'm
my
a
grandson
grandson.
and my friend Brett. This is not a Kokanee. But my grandson, he's 8 years old in that picture, and he reeled that Mac in. That was fun. He kept saying, "Grandpa, I can't hold this pole any longer. You got to take it." And I kept saying, "No, you got it." So this was just 2 weeks ago. This is a friend of mine I went to high school with that I don't see much anymore. And I got him out fishing.
Not blocking you, Lee.
Huh?
No, you're fine, Dale. Just sit down.
Just stay where you're at.
Moving around.
These fish here are about 3.5, 4 pounds that we caught, and everything we caught that day was about that size. So you can change it. This is one of my grandson here. That's probably about a 2.5, 3 pound fish. I had him out catching them. There, now, we all know who that is. That's Dell. He had a fun time that day. This is another one of my friends from high school that I took fishing with me. They're about 3 pound fish right there. This is Tom Shipkin. That fish there is almost 5 pounds that he caught that day. That fish there we caught in May. That one second place in the Flaming Gorge Derby this year. It was a little over 4 pounds. Now this is my friend Brett's wife. That fish is over 6 pounds. And we caught that right up at the confluence where the Green River and the Black Fork River merge into the lake right there. That's a nice fish. That's probably the biggest one I've seen caught since I've been fishing. It's just me and my grandson's friend right there. These fish, that table right there is about 21, 22 inches wide, and all those fish are, you can tell they're all close to 24 inches.
We're gonna need a bigger table.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another day up at the gorge there. I was with my friend Steve Affleck that day. That's that same picture. There's some, that's my next door neighbor. Those are like 4.5 pound fish. Now this is up, this picture here, this is up on the Platte River. We're fly fishing. This guy here, a friend of ours, he's 93 years old. That fish is 8 pounds. He brought that in on a fly. And Drake Carney. That's it.
Oh, part of the Platte, are you on?
On the North Platte by Casper.
I'm by Casper.
Yeah. That's a couple that I caught early this spring.
These look like Alaska salmon.
They do, huh?
They do.
You get up there at Flaming Gorge and the fish, they're double the size up there at Buckport than they are in the Utah side, on the Wyoming side up there. That was just this year. That was on the trip where you went, Lee, with us. That's a burbot I caught. It was funny, me and Dell was with me when we caught that. And we were kokanee fishing, and down below the kokanee, I could see a few of those fish like that. And it's right there in front of the inlet where we go catch ice fish for burbot. And I told Dell, I said, I think there's some big burbot down there. I dropped my line down there and wham.
Wham, you got it right off.
Yeah, got it right. The minute I got my line down there, wham, we got him.
He hit the Kokanee lure?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. It was, in fact, it was this lure right here. That one. We got him on.
That was the last one.
They're really good. They're really good to eat. So.
Did you tell her about that,
Huh?
about how good that fish was with you?
Yeah, the burbot is. I talked to my friend Brett that lives up there, and I says, "How do you cook this burbot? Everybody says it's like lobster." And he says, "You just take and flay the meat, flay the skin off it. You cut it in like 2-inch chunks, and boil it in sugar water, and wait till the meat floats to the top, and then just take it out with a strainer spoon and put it in hot butter for about, and simmer it for about 10-15 minutes. And, oh, it was really good. Tasty.
Do the same thing with any fish.
Yeah. I haven't tried it with any, that's the first time I've tried it, but it tasted just like lobster. It really did.
I do that a lot with bass.
Do you? Yeah. So, but yeah, you guys have any questions or anything, or?
Do you like the taste of the kokanee better than like king salmon or regular?
I do, yeah, myself. I do. You know, a lot of the salmon, like king salmon and stuff, when I buy it, it's at the store. I've never really had it fresh caught king salmon, so I really can't compare it. But when I buy it at the store, I think it's farm fish or something. Yeah. It's just not as good. But I really like the taste of kokanee. I have several ways I like to cook it.
Give us a couple samples of how you cook it.
Well, one way that I like cooking it is I like to take and I have a big green egg smoker, and I like to cook everything on that thing. And one of my favorite ways is I take some Vermont maple syrup. I'll just put a little bit of syrup on my finger and wipe the meat down, and then I take some of that honey bunches of oats with maple flavoring in it, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and I crumble it up and get it towards crumbs, and I sprinkle it on top of that maple syrup and smoke it, and I'll slice some oranges and put on top of that and smoke it up like that. That's really good. I like to use spade ale and just put spade ale seafood on it and smoke it. If you don't have a smoker, a really good way to cook it is in a saucepan with butter, like lots of butter, and squeeze some lime in there and slice some oranges and put on top of it and just simmer it in that. That's really good. So I like it just about any way, to be honest with you.
The way I've had some
Oh.
pretty good luck with it is take the fillet and put some oil on it, then salt and pepper and some, I use lemon pepper. But then I put it on my grill, meat side down, and take my tongs and I let it stay meat side down until my tongs can move the fish. And then I turn it over with the skin side down, let it go for another 3 or 4 minutes, and I take my spatula and go right underneath the skin, and it comes right off. And
So Lee, when you say grill, you're meaning a flat top, right?
No,
A barbecue grill?
Yeah.
Really, and it stays together and
Oh, yeah.
it doesn't, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, these,
I use those plastic
It-
sheets,
Yeah.
that you cook on my
it won't
barbecue.
work real well with, you need to use those sheet for this salmon you buy at Costco and stuff, but
Yeah.
these Kokanee are a lot,
I've used parchment.
Well,
paper
firm.
they're tighter.
Yeah, well, baking parchment paper,
Fiber.
and that's worked okay.
Another way I like to do it is if any of you guys have a pressure cooker, is I'll take and, I'll smoke it on my grill with just some spade ale and get a good smoke flavor and cook it till it's like 3/4 done. Then I take it off the grill and I just cut it in little chunks, fill up a pint bottle with it, then take some El Paso red enchilada sauce and fill the bottle up to about maybe 3/4 of an inch from the top. And then I just take a lime, squeeze a little bit of lime juice in each one on the top. And then you go ahead and pressure cook that for about an hour and 15 minutes. And then everything's all sealed. But then when you eat it, what's really good is you take it out and you put it on a water cracker with some Philadelphia cream cheese on it and the salmon on it with a jalapeno on the top. That's good. That's really good.
But I like it better with the green sauce instead of the red.
Do you?
Yeah.
I like
It's
the
really
red.
good both ways, but the green is
I like the
milder.
red sauce better myself.
The green is milder for me.
Yeah, so.
But it's really good, and with the way he does it, it's really good.
so-
Lee knows how to cook that fish too. He's really good at that.
You know, kokanee, it's interesting, kokanee fishing, some days, all you gotta do is find the right depth and pull right through them and you'll catch them. Other days, you gotta do a little bit more than that. If I go through fish 3 or 4 times and I know I'm going right through them and I'm not getting a hit, I change. I change colors, I don't waste my time just dragging through them all day and say, oh, that was a rough day fishing, it was slow today. Some days I have to work for them and really, I've heard a lot of people say, well, you don't need to, they don't look at the colors, they don't look, fish, they don't care about that, but I don't believe that. I've seen it too many times where I'll change to a different color and then the next thing I know, wham. And that's the only thing they're hitting on is that color that day. It's just really interesting how those fish are to me. That's why I like it so much. It's just,
I got it.
every day's a new day, and you can go up there on a Friday and just catch the heck out of them and not even have to work, and then Saturday, you gotta work for them all day long, and change until you finally find what's getting to them. And that's what I really enjoy about it, but.
And I interject one little thought here. He talks about making them mad to go. This one that I caught up there that's in that picture, the one that got away, he was mad just like a bull charging that boat, and I thought he was gonna ram the boat. He come up and round the boat this way and went around the boat this way, and then he come back around and wrapped the line right around the downrigger that I forgot to raise up, and that's the end of it. You see him swim around the lake with about this much gear behind him.
Yeah, I had
We
a
never did
$30
see him.
rig out there going around my boat.
We couldn't catch him.
But yeah, you have to find a way to get them mad because that's what they strike at. They're territorial, I guess, when you're going through the bloom and stuff. That's, if you want to catch a kokanee, that's what you got to do.
That was exciting.
Figure out, but yeah, I don't waste my time with the same lure all day long. It ain't working.
Have you ever experimented with what works in Alaska for,
I haven't.
because again, they've got it's not just a dodger that goes back and forth, it's more a spinner, and they're big, they're like
And
a
they
foot
use-
long
yeah,
and
they use
4 or
like a
5
big
inches wide.
hoochie.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's a big hoochie, but it's a huge, huge dodger flasher. Yeah, that's what they call them, a flasher. And some of them spin and whatever, but I've just, I've got some of that gear from Alaska. I've just never tried it.
I haven't.
I didn't know if anybody's ever.
I've been up in Alaska, that's where I've done all my salmon fishing. I've
Yeah.
never done kokanee
Yeah.
salmon here. I watched the run at Fish Lake this last year, and I thought, I ought to go fishing for them sometime, you don't fishing when they're
I mean,
running.
they're kinda like this, but bigger, right?
Yeah, much
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
But they're
It's just-
like that wide and about
Right,
that long.
and
yeah.
some of them
I've never
actually
used
have
one
like
of those.
like a little fin sticking out at an angle to make them really spin,
Spin
so
like
they'll,
that?
they'll like corkscrew through the water, yeah, exactly, exactly.
That's what you're trying to do,
Yeah,
is
so
just get their attention.
they'll
and-
corkscrew through the water and then.
Yeah.
And the
then chase
reds
them
are
behind
just
it.
a lot, sounds like the Kokanee, but we got into the reds, and we did a lot of, we had a boat on a river, but most of our fishing we did from the shore, or with waders, and, but we got into them, and boy, you just really try to take them off, the reds, when we got into those.
Right, yeah,
So-
and you know, I have never tried one of those, I've seen guys use them up there. though.
Well, I'll have to
But-
try
but-
it sometime.
But you know, the thing about those is the Kokanees, especially in this, you'd never wanna try that. You'd,
Said battery might run out.
yeah,
All right.
you never would wanna try that in the spring. That's why I use the little 4.5-inch Dodgers in the spring, cause their mouths are so soft in the spring. And they come out of the water, I mean, they'll come from 30 feet down to out of the water light speed. And those great big Dodgers, when they splat on the water, it just pulls the hook out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to land them, so that's why I use the smaller Dodgers in the spring.
Well, you know, and again, if it's not broken, don't fix it. If something's working, why experiment with something else?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And that's what I do, you know, when I know I'm going through the fish, first of all, find the fish. Because you're just wasting your time dragging around if you don't know for sure if there's poking or not. And I've had really good luck just using my sensitivity on my hummingbird, and I can just see the bloom, and I'll see the red fish in that scattered stuff, and when I turn my sensitivity way up, then I know, okay, there's a bloom, and those are poking in there. And I go by that more than I do, just like, well, there's a red and yellow fish on my screen, that's gotta be a kokanee, let's try it. Because that's fooled me sometimes. I don't think that's 100%.
Do you ever look for the diversion? Because I mean, in the past, I've been told, you know, if you want to know what depth to maybe think about, look for, you know, put your sensitivity up and then look for the line where you can see the temperature inversion.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's a lot better to aim for, you know, if you can find the plankton blooms,
Yeah.
that'd be better.
Yeah, you'll see it on your screen. It'll be, because when you turn your sensitivity up, your whole screen will go, look like remember the old TVs with the antennas that were just all scribbly? And you'll see the whole screen scribbly, but then all of a sudden you'll see a real dark cloud area with some red stuff, red fish in it. That's gonna be kokanee.
How soon do those start, like in the year, those algae blooms?
Well, they're not algae blooms, they're plankton. Plankton's all year round, fish live on it all year long.
Yeah, yeah.
But the reason that Wyoming is so good fishing is that where the two rivers converge, is real rich in the bugs that live in the plankton. They don't eat the moss or the plankton that they're in. What they do is they're called gill rakers, and they take the stuff in through their gills and then flush it back out, and it strains these little tiny microscopic bugs out, and that's what they eat. They don't eat big ones, they just eat little tiny ones.
Yeah.
And the plankton, you can find they're not blooms, they're just floating in the,
Just swarms of them.
yeah.
But that's where the kokanee are. They're where their food is, and that's what I do. I call them blooms, but maybe they're not. I don't know. But they just look like, you can see big clouds on your screen, thick clouds, and they're usually about that big, and you'll see fish in them. Those are usually kokanee. So,
How high up is that from, say, Manila? How far up?
from buckboard to from Manila to buckboard,
Yeah.
it's about 20-minute drive. I would say it's probably.
25 miles is what we measured last year.
Is it? Yeah, yeah. In my boat, I can get from Lucerne on the water to buckboard, and if the water's smooth, in 20 minutes.
How's the traffic, boat traffic up there right now?
When I was up there, it wasn't bad at all, you know.
A couple weekends we went up, it was There were a lot of boats around there. I think that was it last fall we went up?
Yeah.
Well, you know, when I was up there 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of boats fishing straight where you launch your boat at Buckboard, straight across the bay, along the cliffs, a lot of boats. And I think once you get 3 or 4 boats, everybody says, well, that's where the
Yeah,
Kokanee
that's
are,
where
so
they-
let's go where they're at. But I went over there, you know, with my 2 buddies that I took up there, I went over there through there with my fish finder on and went through all them boats, and I'm like, these fish aren't in here. So we went about just 5 miles to the north of them, and we had our limit. We caught 27 fish up there in 3
Oh, wow.
days. So, and we were the only boat fishing where I was at. And I did the same thing what I was just telling you. I was looking at the plankton blooms in there, and we were catching fish right in there. We had a spot of maybe 100 feet. We'd go through it, turn around, and go through it again. We just kept going back and forth through it, catching fish just about every time we went through it. So.
Line management questions. Like, I think so how many poles are you running? Are you running off multiple, like 4 downriggers, 2 downriggers? What's your
I
setup?
have 3 downriggers on my boat, and then I usually put 1 in a rod holder if it's real slow, and I'll surface fish for rainbows and stuff. But if the Kokanee fishing's really good, I'll be honest with you, 2 poles keeps me busy.
So you don't bother with stackers on your downriggers?
No, I don't. A lot of times what I'll do is if I see like Max down below the Kokanee, which you'll see a lot, especially in the spring. Yeah, not so much this time of year, because I think the Max are lazy this time of year. They're down on the bottom. They don't do much until November. But if I see Max in the shallower waters feeding, I'll put a clip on and run some Mac bait down low and then fish for Kokanee up on the top. But I don't stack for Kokanee. They're usually all together about the same depth. That usually doesn't change much for me. So, but you know, that's what works for me, guys, and I'm sure you know you guys probably have other things that might work for you, but that's what really works for me. So, any other questions or?
So do you intentionally try to catch burbot, or are those accidents?
The only time I fish for burbot is when I ice fish. And catching them trolling, that was just like, you know, Dale probably thought I was like a fishing guide that day. That looks like a burbot, let's see if we can catch him. And I lower it down and boom, we're catching him. I says, gosh, how about that? You know, that was just luck. So, and that was a pretty good sized burbot I
Oh,
caught too.
it's about that long.
Yeah, yeah.
It was pushing 2 feet if it wasn't more.
Yeah, you know, we got him up in the boat and flayed him too, you know, I whacked him over the head a few times to get him dead, and then I squeezed him real tight to get a good hold of him so I could flame. And man, all these fish were popping out of his mouth, little bit of Kokanee, about that long.
Wow.
So how long have you been fishing up the gorge?
About the last 5 years. I fished a lot there as a kid with my dad, but that was all for rainbows. You know, we used to go up there and fish troll, and you know, we'd go drop an anchor and throw out a bunch of corn and fish for rainbows and stuff. But this Kokanee fishing, I just started doing this 5 years ago, and I'm hooked on it. I love it. It's fun.
But I never seen a fish charge a boat like a mad bull before until that one
I know.
that.
You know, if you guys could have been in my boat and watched Dale, you guys would have got a chuckle out of that. He's like, his mouth was that big around, like, what's that fish doing?
It was mad, they was gonna jump in the boat and whip us.
He was a big fish too. He was a good 5 pound plus fish. He was a good sized fish. His back was about that wide.
Yeah, we got him right next to the boat, we could see him very well.
So Flaming Gorge has been doing really well. I haven't heard very good reports coming out of Strawberry this year, though.
You know, I haven't either. In fact, I think the gorge has been slower this year than it has been in the last 5 years I've been fishing up there.
I talked with Alan Ward, see, today's Tuesday, Monday, and he says that there were only 4 boats that he could really discern were fishing for Kokanee at Strawberry that day on Monday. And I don't know if that's, they weren't catching them or what, but there was only 4 boats on the lake fishing for Kokanee.
He didn't see whether usually had a creel surveyor check the digger.
They don't have a creel survey going.
I have a really good friend named Gary Bolander that lives out in Grantsville, and he was up at, I just talked to him 2 days ago, and he was up at Strawberry for 3 days. And he said, we'd fish all day long and only get 3.
Yeah, that was my experience. I did Strawberry with my son and my dad, and we've always almost caught our limit when we've been there, in past years. But this year, it was rough. Granted, we lost a lot at the boat. It was, I don't know, it was a bad day, but it was a lot harder to get into fish than it has been in past years. And just going through fishing forums and stuff like that from Strawberry, forums I'm in, it's kind of the same story. Guys who've caught their limits in the past and who've done really well had really hard time this year.
Yeah, and it's the same with the gorge. I haven't seen the great big schools stacked together of fish up there at all this year. It's just been small little areas,
Yeah.
pockets where I've caught them, and the places where the last 4 years previous 4 years, other than this year, that I've fished where I've always caught lots. I mean, I've been out in the morning and we limit up by 9 o'clock and off the water.
Yeah.
And there's no fish in there.
And Jordanelle as well. I went to Jordanelle just last weekend, and we didn't catch one kokanee. And I knew where they were. I could see them. I drove right through them all day long. Changed colors, changed scent, changed everything, and all we ended up with was trout.
Yeah, try when you see that and you're not, try zig S-turn in your boat through.
Yeah.
I do all kinds of stuff like that, just for something different for them to look at, because everybody just drags through them, and I try to change it up a little bit. Do that. Just
Raise it, lower it. Try that next time. Up and down.
Yeah, when you said you go up and down, do you have electric downriggers? Is that how you're doing that?
Well, no, when you turn the boat really sharp, the one pole
goes
will whip
out.
the bait, the other
Gotcha.
one will lower the bait. But I have downriggers where I can do that also. But turning the boat, to be honest with you, works just as good.
Turn the boat sharp.
Yeah, if I'm raising and lowering my downriggers, it works, you can do it, but you gotta have your reels set just right, because when it goes down, it takes line out, and when it comes up, it slacks off.
Yeah.
And I like to keep my lines tight when I'm fishing for kokanee all the time. My pole's good and bent.
Yeah.
And I find that it works better just to turn my bow back and forth than use the downriggers for that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any other questions?
When you going again?
I'm hoping I can go one more time this month. I'd like to go probably the end of next week or the next week, because after that, it's just no good after that. The fish start getting really red, and then you can only go to like the second week of September sometime. I don't know what the date is this year.
17th.
What?
17th.
Oh, it's the third week then this year. It's the 17th, so. But, I haven't had any luck at all over by Sheep Creek this year at all. I've gone over there a couple times. One time I went when we had Lee and Dale up there with us. I can't see any fish over there, so. The buck, I've heard down by the dam they're catching them, but I haven't been there, so. So anyway. You guys want to look at some of my lures, what I use. These packages I brought, these are all my favorite lures that I use. You're welcome to look at them all if you want.
Did we go this time last year?
It was the 15th.
15? I think we should go again. I know a place to stay.
Can do.
I might even have what I use to catch those big macs here and here. Let's see. But if any of you guys can find this, buy it. If you see them on
I've talked, Jared Johnson's gonna start making those again.
Is he?
Double D Dodgers.
Well, this one right here, oh my heavens.
I don't know about the specific color, but the style, he's gonna start making the double Ds again.
If you get online and search, you can find stores that still have them still. And I wish I could remember the brand of them, but oh, I have such good luck with this.
Max makes some big double D's like that, and
I
you can
think
order
it
those
might be
online.
Mac.
I've got some big ones like that, and I've had other people say, "Oh man, that's too big," and I'm like, "I've got more fish in my boat than you. It's not too big."
It's crazy and it works. It isn't-
Well,
Exactly,
There's a lot
it's-
of people that read stuff, you know, and
Yeah, I know.
They're like, well, that ain't what the book says, but
Exactly. It's not what the YouTube guy I saw said.
it's like my grandpa always used to say, bright people know when they're standing in shit, not how to spell it.
Yeah.
You know, the Irish thought that pulling all that stuff behind you, I used to call it shrapnel, till I went fishing with him and started catching them kokanee on that stuff. And decided it's worth having. Before I hate pulling all that material behind me like that, all that iron. But if you don't pull it, if you don't use it on kokanee, you don't catch them very well.
Yep.
I remember the first time I put this on the pole, Dale says, "You're gonna pull that?" And I said, "Yeah." And you're gonna reel them in.
But the thing of it is, you don't just reel them in, they come in, they come in fighting,
So what's your-
they jump out of the water, way out of the water.
What's your rod and line setup?
I use fluorocarbon line, and I use the Lamaglass rods and the Tika rods. I have a Tika sockeye kokanee rod. It's a kind of a really pretty royal blue color. That's my favorite rod. It's a one-piece rod. And I use the Okuma cold weather reels with the line counter on them and the thumb trigger, so you can control your line with the downrigger and everything. That's what I like to use.
What weight line?
Oh, usually about 8 pound, 10 pound, right in there is usually what I use. I like to use the fluorocarbon because it's has just a little bit of stretch and it's invisible in the water. I'm gonna have to untangle that when I get home with my other glasses.
Okay. So Randy, for the next business, the only thing is anybody, well, may I? Go ahead. Is anybody here going this weekend to Starvation? We talked about having the go on up to the 14th Saturday and fish Starvation. No one here is going? Okay, well, I may let Danny Washburn know, because maybe you and I are going to the gorge. Okay.
I might go.
Try out what we just learned.
I might go.
Well,
So
if you're gonna go to the gorge, I'll tell you where to go.
Well, out of Buckboard is where we be staying in Green River and going out of Buckboard.
Okay, so you launch at Buckboard, and you go straight across the lake. And instead of fishing where all the boats are, just straight across the lake to the right, go to the left. And on the east side of the lake, you'll see 2 trailers on the beach. About 300 feet south of them trailers and about 400 feet out from the bank, fish right there.
So you're talking about go out of Buckboard, across to the other shore, turn left, head upriver. And
Until
look
you
for the
see 2 trailers.
And look for the trailers on the left.
As you're heading
On the
up the
trailers on
lake,
the right.
they're on the right, on
Okay,
the
all
east
right.
side of the lake. You'll see 2 trailers, and about 400 feet out from shore, and maybe 200 or 300 feet south of the trailers, right
All
there.
If we go up there, we'll let you know how to do it.
Yeah, you'll do good.
Last time we went up there this time, it was August 15th, a year ago. We saw all the other boats, we got in the happy throng, and we caught fish, and it was a great trip. But, there were times when we had to maneuver through the other boats. It was quite a,
Oh, yeah.
there were like 40 boats within,
Well,
a half mile of us.
That's how it was when I was with my buddies up there 2 weeks ago, is all the other boats was about maybe a half a mile down from us. And after about 4 or 5 fish we reeled in, all of a sudden 4 or 5 other boats started moving in where we were. And yeah, that's what they do. They got binoculars and they look for the lures flashing because they know you're catching fish.
Yeah, we saw a few charters up there too, where,
Yeah.
So we sort of, we were those guys. We watched the charters, we saw people catch them. It's like, okay, I think we're in the right area. But then we started catching fish too.
Yeah.
On just about everything we tried.
But, my buddy up there, the Raddens, Kenny Radden, I don't know if you know any of the Radden brothers, but Kenny lives up there, and he's been catching fish right at the confluence too, right there. And if you stay on the Green River side and go up to this, where the inlet, where the fire hole is, where everybody ice fishes, they're catching huge browns up there right now. Huge ones, like 8, 9 pounders.
What were you saying, Bedrick? You might head up starvation?
I might do starvation. I've been talking to Danny a lot this past week. He had some issues with his batteries and stuff, and was asking me some questions about Deer Creek because he's kind of been making his rounds while he's up here, and so I might go up there and fish and meet up with him if he's still gonna be up there. But I'm not 100% sure yet. I have to see what the schedule's like. So what day were we planning on? A Saturday?
Saturday the 14th was what we had talked about as the club going up.
I'll ask Danny and see if he wants to do it, and if he's going to be there and I can swing it. Maybe we'll send out an email, or we just send out the email and say, hey, we're meeting up at this time, and whoever shows up shows up. Yeah. That way, if someone like Ben, like last time, just decides at the last minute they're going to do it, or
Do you want to send out the email then on that? You say?
sure.
Okay, all right.
For sure, because I'd be willing to go back out and starvation.
I don't know yet. That's what I have to figure out. So we only got one car right now, and if that car's pulling the boat, then my wife's stuck at home. So
Yeah, and last time night fishing, like I say, I slept in the parking lot. No one bothered me.
yeah,
Got up the next morning and drove home.
yeah. The
I
night
was
fishing
nervous
was
about
fun.
deer.
Yeah.
Driving home at night when I was already tired and deer on that highway,
Oh,
I just slept and then went the next morning.
We got home safe.
Yeah. I appreciated the text, by the way. Both of you guys texted and said that you were home safe.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Woke me up, but thank you.
I mostly had to text just to make sure I was safe and I wasn't dreaming that I got home in my bed. 4 o'clock in the morning is a hard time to show up.
That's a long night.
So
All right, I don't think there's any other business. We can't do a financial report until we get some signatures on some papers so that Dell can get access to the bank accounts.
They'll take the money, they just won't tell me what we got.
I had a question about, are we going to send someone to the Starvation Classic this year?
That's like the second week of September, right?
I think it's,
Right after-
we're going to have to register pretty soon. It's September. It's end of or middle of September.
Does anybody in the club want to go? Because if somebody wanted to go, then
Best bet would probably be Ben.
Ben would do well for the club. I mean, that's one of the reasons I kind of want to go, because I want to try in the day and see how well I can do and fish at tournament style and see. But I also, I don't know. I've never been in a tournament before, so it's a dedication to do that.
and that's a real tournament.
Yeah.
It's like, you get
Ben took like second or third last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He took second, I think, the last.
Very last bit.
Yeah, maybe there was a year gap between the two times that he went up, but he and Dan Johnson went up, and yeah, they took second.
Yeah.
And then I think a couple years before that, Dan took second.
And they took second with like 2 fish. It was
Yeah.
it was rough.
Big fish.
Yeah, it was rough. They didn't catch very many fish last year, is what he was telling me. So
Um,
Well, they're probably fishing
Well-
the big ones instead of the little ones.
yeah. Well, you can't. Nothing counts over 12 inches. So
do you want to reach out to Ben and see if he's going to fish it? Because
yeah.
I think
I guess my question wasn't so much who's going to fish it, or do we want to send someone to the Starvation Classic? I know.
What we offered before, I think, was that anybody who wanted to fish it, we would cover their entry fee.
But they'd have to do room and board and
Yeah, they do their own
transportation.
board and everything else, and if you win prize money, I think some of it comes back to the club.
Yeah.
At least repay your, didn't they do that before? I can't remember.
No, they did.
Somebody
They-
said repay the entry fee and then keep the balance or something.
I think what we ended up doing last year was donating to Camp Hovey or something like that.
Well, and we did that last year. Yeah, we've done that in the past too.
So
That's different, right?
yeah.
But that's a separate question of, do we want to free a couple $100 to buy raffle tickets is what we did before,
Gotcha.
for, on behalf of the club. It just means that whoever goes up for the club needs to make sure that you write RMA on 200 pieces of paper that go in, the tickets that go in.
Yeah.
Labels. Labels.
Well, I'll reach out to Ben and see, and see, maybe he wants to go up to Starvation, also. So if it's 3 of us, then we'll do it and we'll send it in an email. But I can take charge of that.
I don't know, well, we may need to, I would suggest we vote on it tonight. Is everybody okay that if somebody from the club wants to go and fish the tournament, that the club will pay their entry fee? And put $200, should we do 200? Can we afford, you don't know if we can afford, I think we can afford 200.
We'll just say some.
Okay.
You didn't
Well,
have the money.
we'll
Some money.
So, 100,
You didn't
150,
have the
something
money.
like that. So is everybody all in favor of, if somebody wants to fish it, that the club will help their entry fee and make a donation to Camp Hobie? All in favor?
I'll second that.
Okay, sounds like the motion passes.
I'm not opposed.
You're opposed? All right. Well, welcome to the club.
He's always the contrary.
That's right.
No, I'm not on that, that's not my contrary about it. I don't see one benefit for the club for that.
The only thing for
We're
us.
paying for guys that don't come to any club meetings or contribute anything to the club.
The only benefit I think is really the raffle tickets, because if we win something from the raffle tickets, then that gives us something that we can raffle off in February if we do that. The other question is, if we're having the meeting here, that might be problematic, because I don't, we would have to, I'll have to talk with Cammie Packard. In the past, what we've done is people bring in all their extra surplus stuff, and if we've won stuff at the raffle at the Starvation Classic, then
That comes here too.
then we bring that in, and we, and the February club meeting is usually pretty dead time of year, so we just basically have a raffle. Everybody buys a couple of tickets, or buys tickets, and we give this stuff away. The problem is that we're carrying merchandise into Shields, and then trying to walk out with some new merchandise. Awkward. So, we may have to, what we could do is have all the stuff in the parking lot and simply know what is being auctioned off and have a slip of papers, it's a fishing rod, it's a this, it's a that, and this is what it is, just have an inventory list, have the drawing, and then go out to the truck in the parking lot that's got all the stuff in it and hand out whatever people want. We can do that might be the way to do it. But I don't think we can carry merchandise in and carry merchandise out of Shields. It's just
We're
too
just
awkward.
at that point in the night where we're gonna have a raffle at the end, the rest of the meeting is done, then just wander outside.
I don't know if we really want to do a raffle in the parking lot. I think that would get police presence.
Maybe.
Do it at the awards dinner. Raffle Shields gift cards.
Yeah. That's a possibility.
We could talk to Cammie and
We're
just
not
ask
doing
her.
an award.
I would say just talk to Cammie, ask her, and maybe we tell her we're gonna put a special sticker on every item or something.
We could go to dinner in January and do it at that's sort of got the same situation of you gotta carry all this stuff into a restaurant. But at least it's not like we're shoplifting stuff out of Shields. So,
No, but I don't think it'd bother the restaurant.
Huh?
I don't think it'd bother where we've had them before. I don't think it'd bother.
Depends on where we
How
go.
much stuff you take.
Yeah, we could probably do that if we go to that same place. All right,
I
think we're done.
I move we go home.
let's go. All in favor?
Aye.
Paul, thank you again. That was awesome.
It was fun.
Awesome.